Located in the heart of downtown Reno is Noble Studios, a web development and creative firm that agreed to stage an innovation training session with several managers and editors from the Reno Gazette Journal last week. The training included conversations about leadership as well as day to day challenges of running an efficient operation and inspiring employees to find innovative solutions to problems. Noble Studios CEO Jared LaPiccolo, partner Michael Thomas, and senior account manager Kimberly Kuntz led the discussion.
Every business faces this kind of issue is change, and specifically when you're in your industry, right, from print to digital, right, that's the kind of biggest thing. It's the easiest way to say it, but it's a big challenge, and a lot of companies face the same similar challenges. Might not be from print to digital, but it might be other things, whether it's holding on to this talent, right? We have a challenge. We have a great retention rate of our talent, but man, they're tough, right? They're right out of school. They're entitlement. They want to have. I say joke around. I say they have Zuckerberg syndrome.
Realize that the weight that we were carrying at the top of the company was not spread equally down to folks at various levels of the company. And so I don't know if that's a common theme, but what we found is when we gave up that control, it created a whole other set of problems.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not working any less. I don't think any of us are working less, but what it did do is it made us all realize that people do rise to the occasion. And so, I think in the time that we have, and we'd be open to feedback, is, if you think of some of these challenges, I think what we want to impart is maybe you guys as a team or within your departments could go back and sort of come back and say, hey, we have a challenge as a company with this. And by the way, people is number one, retaining people, maybe you're having that, maybe it's team. What do you guys think? And maybe there'd be some exercise where, today it could start in a room here, but then you come back and sort of get that bottom up, top down approach to figure out ways that everybody can take on what role they can serve in fixing that problem. Because then what we find at team meetings is people are speaking the same language.
That's right. It's not a dictatorship that you have to do it this way. It's more about people being receptive to hear change and also feeling adequate to add to that, to be able to say, I have a voice too, you should hear my ideas. Mm-hmm. But what's the worst, the absolute worst, is to say, we have a problem, it's not fucking mine, so someone else solve it, and I didn't sign up for this. And then it's like, well, actually, if there's a problem and you have an idea of how to fix it, but you decide not to, well, you're part of the problem. And that's a hard thing for people to think about. Right. It's a hard thing for people to think.
And I don't know how to, that's my biggest email challenge, is that I do need to be on it, but I probably don't need to be answering everything that comes through as it comes through.
Well, and I'll be honest, I use the flagging function so much. I don't know if, and the way I set it up, and mine's not the right way, it's just my way. But I'll literally flag emails, and then they roll to the top of the queue. And if 2 days go by and those haven't been answered, I then move those into my calendar as tasks, so that it clears my queue, and I don't get overwhelmed with all these red flags. You're like, oh,
time is better spent doing things of value. So when I see something that's not valuable, I try to not let that fall through the siphon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I get clogged with low value things. And as the leader of the organization, it's almost backwards, and that's something I really struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, and yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. And I just recently read an article about how companies are completely rethinking the way they do performance appraisals. Yeah. There's just ways that we've always done things that need to be rethought. And so I would really challenge the organization to look at how many internal meetings you have, the staff meetings you have, manager meetings, one-on-ones. You start really adding up that time, and I know in the environment I came from, I felt like I was always doing meetings or shielding my team from things I felt like, I don't want them to have to worry about this or do that. And then you're stuck in the middle and you're an ineffective leader again.
Well, that's actually the worst, because I'm very guilty of it as well. And I think recently I haven't been, because I've been letting it trickle down. And then ultimately, when it gets, so the problem is if I jump in and fix it, I don't put a system in place for the next time it comes. So it's a short-term gain, very long-term loss though. Having it trickle down, I think as long as it's hey, I'm not burdening you with this. This is something that I need to come down. What would you like to do with it, or how would you like to handle these? Because these are going to be consistently coming through, and then ultimately systems will get built at the bottom, which then ultimately sort of affect the top, and then that allows you to Kimberly's point, allows you to be the right leader, and that's the most important role that you can be as a leader, is to stay as a leader, is not to get down into the trenches. It doesn't mean that you're that you can't put that hat on. I'll take the garbage out. I was setting up plastic this morning outside for an exercise this morning. So it's okay to take those on. It doesn't mean you're better than that or your pay grade doesn't go there. It just means that your time is better spent, leading. Because when there's not a leader, then that's when it really goes upside down.